Hello, Cine-Files fans, and welcome back to our final installment for this year on the 2026 Best Picture nominees. We're going to talk about 4 films in this particular episode here. I am John Rocha, joined as always by my co-host here, Steve Morris.
Why, hello, sir. How are you?
Hello. I tell you, I'm good, but we're on the precipice of a very busy weekend. You and I are going to be hosting a live Cine-Files award show, our second annual one. Plus, you and I, I'm sure, are going to be watching the Oscars. I'll be doing a live watch along. I'm sure you'll be chilling out watching it where you're watching. And so there's a lot that's going on this weekend. And I've read a lot of Oscar coverage. I'm Oscars out by Monday morning. I'll tell you this right now. But I am excited to sit down and talk about these films with you here on this particular installment here.
I am too, and we should probably say that that Cine-Files award show, the second annual, by the way, will be at 12 o'clock. We did have to rearrange the time because one of the hosts of this show made an error in their schedule. I'm not going to say who it was because that would be rude. It was me. And so it's 12 o'clock now on tomorrow, which is Saturday, the 14th of March.
Yes.
On our YouTube channel, we will be having the second annual Cine-Files Awards.
Yes, 12 p.m. PT tomorrow. And yes, one of us decided to have a family, and then it screwed everything up all these years later. So,
talk about irresponsible.
I mean, why didn't you think of it?
I know, right?
But in this particular installment, we are going to talk about Begonia. We're going to talk about Sinners. We're going to talk about the Secret Agent, and we're going to talk about One Battle After Another. But what's going to be unusual about this installment is that we already spoke about Sinners, and we already spoke about One Battle After Another months ago after both of us had seen the movie. So those are going to be our conversations, and they were essentially our shorts at the time, but those are going to be our conversations. But Begonia and Secret Agent will be what we talk about real time, recording it right now for this show. So let's jump into the first movie here. Let's jump into Begonia, Steve. This one, of course, directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, a director that I've certainly enjoyed a majority of his work from recently. It's based on the book Save the Green Planet from Zhang Zhuan. And this one stars Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Aidan Delbus, Stavros Halkias, and Alicia Silverstone coming in to play some scenes here in the movie as Jesse Plemons' mother in the film. And basically, this focuses on Jesse Plemons' character here, his name is Teddy Gatz, who believes that Emma Stone's character is an alien and a Dromedan, to be specific, and that there's connections here to his mom, Alicia Silverstone, and her opioid addiction, and she's part of these clinical trials and trying to save her. Jesse Plemons' cousin, Don, is played by Aidan Delbus, who assists him in kidnapping Michelle Fuller, which is Emma Stone's character. And then you have a sheriff here, kind of psycho style, Stavros Halkias, played Casey Boyd, played by Stavros Halkias. So, Steve, I didn't know what to expect when I watched this movie, and I have to say, I watched it again before our conversation. I have to say, this one is growing on me every single time I watch it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it even more a second time than the first time. What are your thoughts about this movie, looking back on it now?
You know, there's certain filmmakers where you go, cool, we're going to go have a nice time. Like, we're in the middle of the season of Rob Reiner, and I go, cool, this is, and you go like, this movie is going to be what a movie is. When I go to see Yorgos, it's literally like, well, here we go. You know, I don't know what's going to happen. I know it's going to be weird. I thought this movie was great. I really did. It was super entertaining. The performances are fantastic. And the more you think about it, the more you go, fuck, what is this? What is this saying? Like, what is it? Because I really think it is a movie that forces you to think. You keep bouncing around of what you're feeling about what is happening. You know?
Yeah. Will Tracy's adaptation of this book for the screenplay here for this movie, I thought was really well done. And I agree with you, Steve. It leaves you with a lot of things to think about. Is Yorgos saying that the humankind is doomed? That eventually we are going to cause our own destruction? Is that the old message that you're hearing in the movie? What is it saying about the pharmaceutical industry, opioid addiction? What does it say about people who are caught up in these conspiracy theories, have conspiracy mindset? Is he making a commentary that these people are stupid and easily gullible? Or is he making you feel sympathy for Jesse Plemons' character? And of course, Don, his cousin, We a heartbreaking end to him in the movie as well, and what he decides to do. What is that all? Is this about manipulating someone, and how do you explore that with familial bonds? There's so much explored there as well. And then that twist at the end where you realize he was right the whole time. That's kind of mind-blowing, along with discovering that he has been a serial killer in his effort to try to find this answer in order to, in his mind, save his mother. So there's so much commentary throughout the movie, but you can take the commentary in many different directions, which I think is what makes this an endlessly fascinating film.
No, it doesn't give you anywhere to sit. You know, like you know, because we could go like, oh, this obviously crazy guy and his, you know, cousin with developmental issues have kidnapped this person who might not be that likable, but it's just, I mean, it's so insane, and you're just like, oh my God. But then you go, well, hold on a sec. What's going? And I'll tell you what's so weird about it is how it reflects things that are going on in the news. Because several years ago, there were the QAnon conspiracy theories, most of which were totally ridiculous, about a pedophilia ring that was in the basement of a pizza joint, and all of this stuff was being thrown around. And we went, well, these are crazy people. How could they possibly believe? Or I went that. I won't say that all people did. But I was like, how could you possibly believe this ridiculous bunch of conspiracies? This is nuts. Right. And today we're in a world where among the biggest stories there are is the Jeffrey Epstein case, where a bunch of elites were maybe part of a ring of people sleeping with other underage women and other kinds of abuses. Now, does that mean that the Pizzagate folks were right? No. And yet, and that is all I could think about through this entire movie was even before you get to the twist at the end, the stuff that Teddy is saying says absolutely crazy. But the idea that corporate power is ruling our society and manipulating the world for their profit and doesn't care about the health of people and affecting people's health and ordinary people and all that, that to me, I think is pretty true. You know, and so like, even if Teddy were totally nuts, the things he's pointing out in the movie are actually real, you know?
Yeah. And I think this is what you have to come to terms with when you watch the movie, because was everything okay because in the end result he was right? Or is this a commentary about how many bodies have to pay the price so that you can kind of be right by the end? You know, just because the Epstein files turned out to expose that there was a very large pedophilia ring operating amongst these elites, it doesn't mean it was right that this guy went into a pizza parlor and possibly killed and could have killed people. And I can't remember if anybody was killed, but like could have killed people. It doesn't make it right that conspiracy theorists take this stuff and go and kill people or cause damage, because I think that mirrors the people that he killed that were not Andromedans that he kept in glasses there in his room. So these little things you have to come to terms with as you watch the film that I think leave you with a lot to chew on. And for me, I think what you pointed out the stuff about corporations and the pharmaceutical, the black and white scene where we see Michelle Fuller, Emma Stone's character, talking to the younger Jesse Plemons there as his mom is floating in the air as a visual there with the fake apologies, the PR approved stuff where we're not going to rest until we find a cure for this. And don't you worry about the medical bills. We're going to cover everything, all to cover up their horrific approach to this and their fault and their blame with all of this. And you see that going on now, right? You see that even more so now. There's always a canned response from a corporation or company when they mess stuff up that seems to be like they care about you, but it's about covering their asses. And so there's a lot of this throughout the movie. And then, Steve, let's throw in a sheriff who is sexually assaulting Jesse Plemons' character. So maybe there's a kind of reference to the pedophilia thing. Maybe this whole film is a commentary on the Epstein files. It's a fascinating way to look at it if you were going to use that as your prism into the movie, you know?
So first of all, that deputy character, or whatever it is, it's so weird because you're watching it, at least this is my experience, where they're having this you don't know what he's talking about it, but there's a thing. And you, I think for me, my brain, it's like the dawning realization of like, holy shit, did this guy sexually abuse Teddy when he was babysitting? You know, and slowly that becomes a more solid fact. And the fact that is just, it's like it's hovering around the movie, like it's orbiting the actual plot of the movie. It doesn't directly affect the plot of the movie. It just adds one more little bit of horribleness to the whole thing. Well, and this is, and again, like to go back to what you were saying before about the corporation with the canned apology and the denial of service and all of those things. That is our world, man.
Yeah.
Every single person has at one point been arguing with their insurance company over some benefit. And a lot of people, millions of, how many medical bankruptcies and how many people have had to, we have people today who are deciding how many days a week am I going to take my insulin for my diabetes because of the insurance. That's all real. And so what's happening in the film is that you're tapping into real feelings about this. And one more thing, I want to mention is I don't think we ever actually know. Maybe we should have said this is a spoiler review since we're obviously talking about the end, but we do find out at the end that in fact she is an alien. Yeah. And it was so funny as we're heading there, I was going like, shit, it would be crazy if she really was an alien. Like you have that thought multiple times in the course of the movie. At the end, when it goes there, you're like, oh shit. But actually, we still don't know the truth. Like she told a whole story to Dawn about what the why they were there and the dinosaurs. And we don't know if that's the truth. We don't know if Teddy's version just because Teddy was right doesn't mean he's right about everything. So we really, at the end, don't get to know. Like the movie is not going to tell us, which again leaves you in this place of, I just have to sit with this. You know?
Yeah. We should talk about the performances. I mean, Jesse Plemons was not nominated, but certainly his wife, Kirsten Dunst, made a big deal about it on a podcast recently, implying that Chalamet shouldn't have been nominated and Jesse should have taken his spot. And so I know there's been a lot of anti-Chalamet kind of rhetoric going around, but I think Jesse Plemons is another case or another example in my crusade until I run out of breath that we need to increase the number of nominations in some of these categories. And I think acting is one place you have to look at because there's nothing that Jesse Plemons did in this movie that isn't as good as what anybody else did who has been nominated for Best Actor this particular season. I thought he was excellent in the film. I thought Emma Stone was great in the film as well. And this new kid, what's his name? Aiden Delbus, who they found in a nationwide search and who is a kid who has developmental issues there and is an actor. He was fantastic as well, so much so that when he makes that decision that he makes in the basement, I was devastated by that decision and what happened. He acted this so well, So what'd you think of the acting here in the film?
So maybe I'll go in reverse order. I think that that moment you describe with him in the basement is totally shocking and unknowable on a certain level because you go like, well, why did that character make that choice at that moment? Yeah. Particularly because it's, I think, right after the discovery that they've done this before.
Yes.
Which you wouldn't have thought they had done it before from the way a bunch of stuff happens earlier in the film. Yeah. So what is the load that leads that character to do that is really interesting. Emma Stone is great. She plays a perfect meld of cold competence and intelligence with fear and desperation. That, I think she handles it perfectly. I think my gut at this moment is that, in fact, Jesse Plemons' performance is the best performance of the year. I think that and that is in a year of great performances.
Yeah.
But there is something so, when you're looking at actors, I mean, sometimes you tend to default to the biggest transformation. You know what I mean? Who is really becoming, and that's what this is for me. Jesse Plemons taking on, there is so much going on with this character. You see all of the anger and conspiracy stuff and insecurity and nervousness, and there's just a million things going on with him. Yeah. And I think it's an astounding performance.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We should talk about Yorgos Lanthimos' direction as well. So many striking images throughout this movie. I love the way he uses black frames. I love the way he uses the music that Yerskin Fendrix does in certain moments to ramp up the emotion, ramp up the feelings. The shots he has. I mean, after Jesse accidentally kills his mother, just the rage and anger and frustration as he's biking, and the shot they have, the way they put the camera there to capture the emotions that he's going through. Just so much throughout this movie, the way he uses black and white versus color, even the shots of the Andromedan spaceship there at the end inside of it, I thought was really inventive. Almost called back to like the 1800s version of space, or it was fascinating to see the way he directed this film and the way they set up the production design of all of it as well. What are your thoughts here, Steve?
It's funny. The line that keeps popping in my head is, the line in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, where Sundance continually says to Butch, "You just keep thinking, Butch. That's what you're good at." What comes popping in my head is, Yorgos, you just keep being Yorgos. That's what you're good at. Like, this is why, we've had so many conversations about AI and all the AI slop lately, and this is the opposite, which is, this is a director with a singular vision.
Yeah.
I could never come up with this, not in a million billion years. I could never think this way. I don't see the world this way. I wouldn't invent these ideas. He does. And I want him to just keep inventing worlds for me to visit. And the worlds and I might not like all of them. That's totally okay. Like, in fact, I'm pretty certain there'll be ones that I'm like, this was not for me. But that's what I want. I want you to go out into the strange, strange world of your mind and bring it to my screen.
I agree. I'll take one of your kinds of kindness in exchange for Begonia and Poor Things. I mean, he doesn't always get it right, but when he does get it right, they are fascinating films to explore and talk about, and especially because they make such really distinct and interesting commentaries on our society and our human politics, not gender dynamics, our human politics and how we interact with each other. He's just a phenomenal director. When you get down to it. And this is his, I think, third or fourth film that he's done with Emma Stone as well, who is quickly becoming, I was thinking about that before we started doing our recording here. Like, how come no one's talking about her and Yorgos like they talk about Scorsese and De Niro or DiCaprio and Scorsese? Because I think that belongs in the conversation as well. Well, that's our thoughts on Begonia. We always want to hear what you guys think. But before we move off of this movie, though, Steve, we should talk about the nominations, the categories it is nominated in. It's nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress for Emma Stone, Best Adapted Screenplay for Will Tracy, and Best Original Score for Jerskin Fendrix. I don't see it winning any of these categories, although I would absolutely consider it for Best Original Score because that has stayed with me ever since. What are your thoughts on this, Steve?
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I can't imagine Emma Stone getting it because it's sort of like you already won this award for a movie with Yorgos. And is this performance as good as that performance? And you shouldn't be competing against yourself. But in fact, I think she is. And that performance was astounding. I think this performance is great. But great is not astounding. And yeah, I mean, I like the score a lot. I can't, to me, there are, things like Sinners and there are other scores that I think are going to win. I agree with you. I think it's a beautiful adapted screenplay. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to win.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. We'll see how it does on our Cine-Files award show that's happening on Saturday the 14th at 12 p.m. PT. We will see on that as well, Steve. All right. Well, that's our thoughts on Begonia. Let's move on to our next film, Steve.
And for our next movie, we are going to move on to Ryan Coogler's Sinners. And as John said at the beginning, this is actually a conversation we recorded very soon after I had seen the movie. And this was recorded as one of our Cine-Files shorts. And this is one of the benefits that you can get by joining us on patreon.com/the Cine-Files or on Apple Podcasts. But what you should know as you listen to this is we didn't know anything about the Oscar nominations. We weren't talking about the Oscar nominations. We were just having a great conversation about a movie that affected us greatly. And so without further ado, we'll take you back to May of last year and our conversation about Sinners.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode of the Cine-Files Shorts. I am John Rocha, joined as always by my Cine-Files co-host, Steve Morris. How are you, Steve?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good. We are doing a short on the film Sinners. I hesitate to call this a review because this is much more of a discussion, so therefore it falls under the short category. So we're just going to talk about it. Now, we may veer into review categories or a territory, rather, as we do naturally with our discussions on films, but we're just going to talk about the film. And so there might be spoilers here. So if any of you who haven't watched it maybe you want to skip this conversation until you watch Sinners, or just like on our show, if you don't care, then keep on listening because we're going to be talking about it here. So, yeah, Steve, this one comes to us from Ryan Coogler. Michael B. Jordan playing dual roles in this, Smoke and Stack. A bevy of fantastic actors in this one, from Delroy Lindo to Haley Steinfeld to Wunmi Masaku, to a number of actors here being a part of it, and Jack O'Connell being the main villain or antagonist in the piece. And it's an incredibly complicated piece that starts out just profiling the 1930s Mississippi, these two brothers coming back after having fled Chicago, working for rival gangs. At least it's intimated that, Capone probably. And they want to open a juke joint. They end up buying a place from a guy who used to be, quote unquote, a member of the Ku Klux Klan. They end up reconnecting with people from the town, going through old wounds. And then as they open the juke joint, they're having fun, and some really interesting choices are made by Ryan Coogler as a director. We have the villain show up of the piece here, seeking to, in essence, turn everyone into a vampire and get access to Preacher Boy, played by Miles Catton, because he's got this gift that transcends generations, and he wants to bring his people's music back. So your thoughts on this movie? What do you want to say? What do you want to talk about? Let's get into it.
Well, first of all, I will say there are certain times where I've had this experience where I'm sitting in a movie theater watching a movie, and I know this is going to sound weird the way I'm going to say this, but there's moments where I'm sitting here, I'm going, oh, this is a movie. And I know that sounds, which is ridiculous, because of course it's a movie. We talk about movies on the Cine-Files. That's obvious.
Right.
But every once in a while I have this experience. And the time before I had it was Oppenheimer. And the time before that was Parasite, where you just feel like you're in the hands of a filmmaker who knows what the fuck they're doing. Is that they have made a choice. Ryan Coogler made a choice, many, many choices. And he says, this is the film that I'm making.
Yeah.
And it feels, there's a comfort in it. That's the only thing I can, just like, I'm just going to give myself over to the artist and let them do what they're going to do. That was the general experience I had, and I think it's a remarkable movie.
Can you expand upon why you think it's a remarkable movie? You know, people have probably already seen my review on my channel and our spoiler review with the Geek Buddies. So would love to hear why you think it's a phenomenal movie overall.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, first of all the stuff is there. Is there a weak performance? No, there is not. Is it beautifully photographed? Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Is the music fantastic? Yes, it is. Is it in a setting that's handled in a way that I've never seen it before? Yes, it is. Is it a unique combination of events that I haven't seen put together in this way and in this genre? Yes, it absolutely is. But none of that is this feeling of the artistry of the artist. You know what I mean? Like, that's the big thing for me, is that Ryan Coogler is going, we're going here, and I'm going to take you there. And I'll tell you something else, is that there's several movies, Die Hard falls into this category, Get Out falls into this category, where you're completely involved in a story, and then the story takes a turn. So in Die Hard, terrorists take over the building, but we were involved in the story of John McClane and Holly and their relationship. And Get Out, we're involved in this story about this African-American guy and his white girlfriend going to meet her family. And I'm completely involved in that. And this movie is the same. If this movie had continued and it wasn't a vampire movie, and it was just a movie about this club and this community and these people, then I would have been 100% in. And then the movie does this other thing, and it uses that. I think it does this incredible thing. And again, Get Out is obviously something that people have compared it to. Right. Although I think this is a many times greater movie than Get Out, which I totally like.
Yeah.
But like, is that it manages to totally fulfill the requirements of a really good vampire movie. Yeah. Totally fulfill the requirements of a really good music movie and like a musician coming of age movie, and elevate it with ideas about race and about time and about culture and about art and about the way that art goes between people and how is that okay and how is it not okay. I think it's pretty remarkable. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I would have to agree with a lot of what you said. I think for me, sometimes you can be tricked by movies, right? You can be like, oh wow, the score from Ludwig Göransson is amazing, which it is in this movie. The cinematography from Adam Gerald Arkapaw is fantastic in this movie because of course it is. And the direction here from Ryan Coogler is pretty astounding, or outstanding rather, and the performances, as you said, across the board. There's maybe one actor I would say is a little bit not quite up to snuff. It might be a little bit with the writing, but everyone else is fantastic. But do they accomplish the message of the movie? Like, that's really the thing. So you can have all of this stuff, but if the message of the movie doesn't come through, then it's just decoration on something that isn't quite as interesting as it should be, right? And I think they did. And I think that's what elevates this, as what you said when you're watching a film and you realize, oh no, or watching a movie and you realize, oh no, I'm watching a film. If I can make that kind of clarification.
Sure.
And so for me, that's where I go. He's like, I don't use film for like Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. That's a movie, right? Film is a whole nother category in my mind. So I'm presenting that construct as I go into my comments because that's the way I look at it. You're right. Parasite felt the same way. Oppenheimer felt the same way. 1917 felt the same way.
I was thinking about that one too.
Yeah, these films where you're sitting in the theater, and Steve is so correct on this, and you realize, as a cinephile, oh, no. This is something else. I need to be paying attention to what they're doing. And even from the beginning, the way they lay the groundwork there with Wumi Masaku talking about the history of this and the generations and the idea of what music can do and art can do and how it can scare people, but also inspire and uplift people, all of that, just laying the groundwork right from the beginning with those animated chalk outlines and the things that are going on. Very reminiscent of Black Panther, where we saw how they got the element there in Black Panther, the vibranium. So you see that having a little bit of a connection or a kinship with Black Panther, which I thought was a smart way to start. You lay the groundwork for everybody, and then boom, we're in it. And the thing is, the genius about the film also is that it completely, as you said, Steve, it absolutely establishes this world of 1932 Mississippi, where they're going to here, Clarksdale, Mississippi, and the town itself, how the town functions, how people function within the town, and what it means for Smoke and Stack to come back into this town. And Michael B. Jordan establishes these two different characters in Smoke and Stack. So we can see one, obviously later symbolism, one is art, one is commerce, but one is more relaxed, one is more headstrong, and one is more observer, one is more suspicious. So they each have their own different characterizations in how they go through it. But Michael B. Jordan brings such a badassery to them that he's so magnetic in both roles, you can't take your eyes off of him. And then you bring in Miles Catton, who is a new actor. This is his debut because he's a singer. You're like, well, what's this kid going to do? And immediately there is no kind of catch up. There's no kind of like, oh, he's looking like he's not as strong as Michael B. Jordan. He is giving as good as he gets. The energy's there. And then Delroy Lindo, as the veteran actor, comes in. And so there's sparks flying off the screen in the way they're interacting. Even Haley Steinfeld in what she brings to that character and some of the dialogue that she delivers. Remember, this is a woman that impressed us when she was a girl or teenager in True Grit. To see the command of the screen she has in this movie because of the tableau that Ryan Coogler's laid out is amazing. And then we get to Wumi Masaku and what she brings to the character of Annie, I think the character's name, and the relationship she had in The Lost Baby. So much of that Mississippi world is fleshed out for us that, like you said, we could have just stayed in that world. This probably would have been a fantastic film, but it's the gutsiness of going into a completely different direction with this otherworldly supernatural stuff led by Jack O'Connell as the vampire. And it's not an easy, like, okay, vampire shows up, vampire tries to take. He's a much more complicated vampire, even though he symbolizes what you might view as the danger of assimilation into the predominant white culture and how the white culture will co-opt what you created specifically within your culture to make it some unholy bastardization of their version of it and take credit for it, take claim for it, right? But I think what's amazing about it is that he's a much more complex guy because the reasons of why he's doing the things he's doing, the offense he takes when he's being called racist, like there's more to it than you might think. And so it's brilliant decision to go the vampire route for the symbolism, but also for the feeling of overwhelmed sadness and tragedy you might feel watching what happens to all the people as these vampires, their own townsfolks, descend on them and destroy them because they don't want to assimilate. They don't want to be bitten. They don't want to be part of this stuff. So it's just incredible filmmaking in how it works. And it's a film that you can unpack multiple times to find all the different things and still not get everything, you know?
I totally agree. And I think, by the way, you said it better in calling it a film, and I probably should have used that word than the way I said it. I like the way you said it better. But the thing that I think is interesting is, like, you could look at this movie and go like, okay, the black people are the good people and the white vampires are the bad people, and this is just a metaphor about racism. And it's not that that's not there.
It's there, but yeah.
But I think the movie's so much deeper. It's so much, there's so much more going on. And I think part of it, and this just occurred to me as you were speaking, is that one of the things about vampires versus zombies or other kinds of monsters is that vampires are always sexy.
Yes.
That's part of the thing, is that we are somehow attracted to the vampire. So when Jack O'Connell shows up, I think I sort of framed him as like, oh, he is the Ku Klux Klan of vampires.
Right.
But that is not who he is.
Right.
And like, the more that you kind of are with him, it's like, and I think the moment that's so interesting is the three of them. And again, we'll spoil some of this. I don't know if we'll spoil all of it, but like, he has him and his first two victims have showed up at the club and they want to go inside, and they can't go inside unless they're invited inside, which is classic vampire rules. Right. And they sing. And when they sing, it is the antithesis of the blues music that we've been hearing in the film.
Right.
But it's still kind of beautiful and seductive in its way. And so there's a sexiness to it. And there is and it's so funny because, you know, you and I and the other Geek Buddies had a text exchange about the film and cultural appropriation. And then the next day I heard Ryan Coogler on Fresh Air, and he was being interviewed, and they were talking about, there was a line where the interviewer quoted the line where they said, the vampires are saying, hey, we want to take your music into us. Right. And Coogler interrupted and said, wait, you got to finish the line, and you will take our music into you. And that, I think, is a profound thing, because I don't think what Coogler is, I think he is saying that the white establishment has come and appropriated the art of the African-American people. I think he's talking about that. That's true. But he isn't just talking about that. He's also talking about how there is no blues music or jazz music without European music, because it is the mixture of African rhythms and African improvisation meeting up against European melodies and harmonies, and those things coming together that form new art. And so, like, I don't think he's saying anything simple, and particularly, maybe I won't go into what happens at the very end of the movie, but like, it isn't just, oh, look at the bad vampires. Right. Although that's there, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think, and that's what makes it such a good film, because it's a challenge for you as a viewer.
Exactly.
Right? You can go simplistic and just like Get Out, you can go simplistic and go like, okay, this is very clearly, you know, they want to use black people to keep themselves alive, and they use but there's also much more operating under the surface and a commentary about white liberalism, which I think is genius within Get Out. And then just even having the scene where she's separating the colored Cheerios from the regular Cheerios, like that's just little things like that you're like, this is fucking genius, right? And same thing here with this kind of stuff. Making Remick a complicated antagonist, I think, is a fascinating thing, because the way he achieves power, he's brought into this world by the song that Preacher Boy is singing in that incredible scene where we're going forward in time and back in time and in the present day, and all these different versions of music are coming in during that sequence when he's like achieving this highest level of art, or with his music and his voice that goes and reaches out into the generations to come and the generations before. That conjures this spirit, this vampire, to come through with Remick. And what is the first thing he does? I mean, he's caked in like blood and fur and smoke and all of this. So what did he spring from? But who's trying to catch him are these Choctaw vampire hunters. You're like, what the hell? And when he rolls up on this couple, it is a white couple who has Ku Klux Klan robes in the back. And instead of the white couple listening to the Native American, the Choctaw hunters, about the danger of allowing this white man in there, they ignore them or push them away or threaten them with their gun. And then the sun's going down and they take the fuck off because they know what's going to happen. And he becomes the vampire and takes both of their souls. So it's not just the evil coming into the black community or the Asian communities we see with the two store owners and their daughter. It's also the danger of it coming into the white community. So that it even works on that level. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's what's fascinating. And I think it's not an accident that he makes these songs so enticing. You know, I'm a massive bluegrass fan. I love bluegrass and old like country music. Like when they start doing that song, as you mentioned, when they walk up, you know, we gonna strip him dry, whatever. Like that is a really well done song. Yeah. And then later, when we see how he's turned, they've all turned so many people who came out of the juke joint, and it becomes this almost unholy tribal dance ritual thing. And the music that's being created, the Irish music that's being created, it is an incredible amount of music. And even I think it's Smoke or Stack, one of the two is like bopping along to the music initially, and you're like, wow. So even one of them is transfixed with the music. So it's not Devil Went Down to Georgia at all. It's a completely different approach to it, and I think that's what makes it also a great film, is because it's challenging and it's not easy to parse out all the stuff that you're supposed to get from the film like this. And it doesn't help that Ryan is constantly like giving you a little bit of mixed messages in his interviews so that you can feel however you want to feel about the movie, which I think it's smart for him to do that, but it doesn't help you really settle on anything, you know?
But that's what makes the movie alive. It's strange. I think Oppenheimer is in a weird way a good comparison, although the subject matter is entirely different. But just because you get to the end of the Oppenheimer and you don't go, I know how I feel about this.
Right.
You know,
yes.
You don't have a conclusion where you go, it was good to make the bomb or it was not good to make the bomb. You're just left in this, oh my God, I've experienced this big thing. That's this movie. If he gave you an easy answer, then I can go, okay, cool, I get this movie, I can move on. But he's not. He's not going to let you get away with that. I just want to go back to, because I just really want to highlight it. That sequence, the musical sequence that you're talking about, that involves all these different eras. Yeah. That is I can picture Coogler comes up with the idea, he puts it in the screenplay, and I bet he's talking about it for a long time going, I don't know if we can pull this off.
I got to nail this. This is the movie. I got to nail this moment or else I'm going to lose everybody. Yeah, you're right.
Because it's so bold. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, it's death. Yes. And fucking hell, it works. It's so good. It's one of the great, it's probably the greatest moment of filmmaking I've seen this year, which, you know, the year's only third way through, but still, like, I can't think of anything better that I've seen in a long time than that sequence. And it is just full artistry. And this is the thing that impressed me so much with the movie. There's just so much goddamn love in this movie. You could just feel his love for all these characters. And that to me is just such a like the attention to detail, the care and the humanity. Like I mean, you know, I think her name's Grace, is the Asian woman, and that she gets that unbelievable, incredible moment in the film. Annie, as you mentioned, is astounding. Haley Steinfeld, like each one of those characters, each one of those characters are people that they love, you know, and you feel for them, and they have their relationships feel fully grounded. Like, for instance, there's this character Cornbread who we meet, and one of the Michael B. Jordan twins, I don't remember which one, is sort of messing with him and, you know, saying stuff about his wife. And we're like, oh my God, there is a whole history of these characters that we can obviously tell that they've known each other a long time. And one more thing, and you already said it, but I'm going to just say it again. Man, Michael B. Jordan, that guy. Yeah. What not only is he an astoundingly great actor, but he has charisma and screen presence and power and intensity and violence unlike almost anybody else. He's amazing.
There's a swagger to him.
Yes.
That is exciting to witness. And you can't take your eyes off of him. Like, that's the thing. There's a swagger to his acting. Even when he's playing, even in Creed or these other films that he's been in, or even in like I can't remember what the show was that was on Amazon Prime. Like, even in something like that, was him playing a military guy. Like, there's an energy to him. There's a presence to him. There's a confidence to what he does on screen that just absolutely attracts you. And listen, Ruth E. Carter did a wonderful job in the costumes and the look of everybody in the film. And I get what they did by putting, them in different colored hats so that you can tell the difference between the two. But honestly, you wouldn't even need that because of how Michael B. Jordan draws two very different characters within both of these twins. And so you know which one you're looking at, and it never even occurred to me until later when when I went back to see it again, or when I was talking to other people and then seeing reading some people's reviews, that they represent art and commerce. Like, it never even occurred to me, it was just
never occurred to me until this moment. I'd never heard that. Yeah.
And I'm watching because one is obsessed with money, making money, making sure the money is there, making sure they're not getting paid with sharecropper bills. They got to get paid with real money, that they can actually use. So there's a lot of that through the film. And then, one is a little more lenient about that because a little more understanding, a little more accepting, more of the art, and so it's just fascinating to see how he put that out there. And that's what confounds me when I see people like, I got upset recently not upset. I guess I got a little miffed. I would say miffed is a little bit lower than upset. When I saw a female wrestler post, and she's a wrestler of color, she's Latina. She posted a picture of going to see the film on her Instagram story and said, "What a waste of time." And I was just so miffed by that because this is not a Jason Statham movie. Like, this is a film, and it demands your attention. It demands your analysis, and have the intelligence enough to be like, well, if it isn't your jam, just respect it enough to say, didn't work for me, not for me. That's totally fine. You cannot call this film a waste. Like, I can't conceive of that. I get that art is subjective. I'm the first person on that hill. But I also think there's a way you have to respect certain art. And I think this is an art that deserves respect, whether it worked for you or not. And there's a way to treat that kind of art that deserves your respect. And so for me, this is where I get a bit miffed. I mean, Snyder and I went at it for 30 minutes about it on the hot mic because he was of the belief that people of color and white critics were giving it a pass because it's a Ryan Coogler movie and they didn't want to get yelled at by communities of color for not liking the movie, which is just utter horseshit. But we went back and forth about it because there are a contingent of people who see a black movie and immediately get abrasive about it. And I think this is what's fascinating when you look at the film in the context of our current society and how we're having discussions about assimilation or separation or tribalism or this idea of respecting each other's cultures and all of that. The film wades right into it with a much more complex take on all of it. And so it demands your respect and your attention because of the place of artistry it's coming from.
So many things. The first one is this is something that came up in our recent advisory board meeting of you and I disagreeing about whether or not we can be objective or if everything is subjective. Yeah. And I'm just saying right now, I would like this to be the subject of a future short.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what I think is like the waste of time comment is just like, because I do think there are objectively true things about art that we can say. And to me, those are beautiful fucking costumes. That is objective. That's not a, you don't have to like them. You can see something that is incredibly well made and go, that's not for me. That's totally fine. But it is incredibly well made. That's one thing. The second thing, I certainly understand that in our world, when particularly I'm a white guy and I'm going to comment on something that is of a different race or different gender or something like that, I'll have a little bit more trepidation. I certainly understand Snyder's point in that sense. But the idea that people are giving this a pass, I mean, mostly the opposite has been true. That's what, it's like, yes, is that particularly when the claims about, it's not doing well at the box office at the very beginning was like, it's making lots of money. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Right. That those things are just, and it's okay with me if you don't like it. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm not a horror movie guy. I'm not a vampire movie guy. Right. And so part of me did want the movie where it didn't go to vampires and I could just be in that world. But it is incredibly, incredibly well done. And the one other thing is that you can also look at this movie as this is a movie about art and about
Yeah.
music and the life of an artist, because there's also, the preacher boy character. He is, we start at the very beginning of the movie with, you have to choose to put down your art. That is what he is being told. And we know he's been through this horrific experience, and the horrific experience is connected to his music. And he, and then he's going to make a choice at the end of the movie. And that to me is like also a profound thing, is that you as an artist are going to go out into the world, and they're going to be all of these things they're going to try to take from you. And you're going to be desperately trying to do your art. And there are people that are going to use you, and there are people that are going to steal from you, and there are people that are going to abuse you, and you're going to go through trauma. And that is the reality of being an artist in the world.
Yeah.
And that is what he chooses. And I think that too. And the other thing about this movie that I think this movie is also saying art and music are important.
Yes.
They are what bring us together. They are what make us feel human. They're what make us feel alive. They are central to our identities, you know?
And it's so frustrating right now, Steve, because we hear the drum beats again of people who want to defund the arts, who want to remove any funding for art, claiming we should be putting it towards defense. We should be putting it towards this or that. And it's like, art is what gets people through horrible days and horrible nights and horrible situations and horrible times. Music, movies, TV shows, video games, all of that is art. All of that is art that gets you into a play. Reading a book, that is art. Reading a comic book, that is art. And I think so. I just want to underline your point so strongly now. Art is so necessary for us as human beings. It is so essential. And even the people who want to defund the art, they're listening to music as they're driving to their fucking place to talk about defunding art. And they don't know how many artists they're listening to in their iPhones or iPods that were able to do their art because of the funding from the arts. And so there's a bit of convenient amnesia or hypocrisy here that is supremely frustrating. Art is so essential. And so seeing it, the way it's done in this movie and the importance of it in this movie, I think is an excellent point you're bringing up, Steve. And I want to come back to that moment we both touched on here about it's either in or you're out moment. What do they call it? The refrigerator moment from Indiana Jones. Like either you're in or you're out after he does that sequence going back and forth in time with all the different versions of dancing in the juke joint there. There was break dancing and all of that stuff. It's very reminiscent of the scene in Oppenheimer, to make another connection, Oppenheimer, when he is seeing a little bit of the ramifications of what he's done, and he's giving that speech, and he can't hear the clapping, and he goes numb. That scene, as it's coming upon you when you're watching it, you're just falling back into your chair in awe of that scene, and this scene as well. The gutsiness to put this in the movie, because I think Ryan knew the film either sinks or swims if this moment works for you or doesn't. And so it takes it's very Terrence Malick in its ballsiness and gutsiness to try and do something like this, to see how far he can go out there. And it works, 100% it works. And that is the mark of a true artist. I am taking the chance to put something that could be looked on as so fucking pretentious, but I'm going to trust that I can construct everything leading up to this moment so that the moment pays off, and then everything afterwards, the moment is still paying off throughout the rest of the film. And I think that's essential. And I also want to highlight that Ryan did a really good job of highlighting the Asian community in the movie as well, and showing that there was a strong Asian community in the South, and people rarely talk about it, and yet it was a very big part of the movie.
I think the Oppenheimer comparison to that scene is a great one, because what's interesting, because again, that's a conceptual scene. Mm-hmm. Like Nolan has this idea. We totally have succeeded. Yeah. We have accomplished what we wanted to accomplish. I'm going to film the celebration of accomplishing this incredibly difficult goal. Yeah. And I'm going to do it in a way that feels like we're in the middle of a tragedy. Yeah. Yeah. And that is bold conceptual filmmaking, which is what Ryan Coogler is. And the one that it reminds me, and I'm not making this comparison, but this is why Citizen Kane is a great movie. Citizen Kane has multiple sequences, the breakfast table being the most obvious one. Yeah. But there's so many where it's a conceptual idea. we're going to approach this scene in this way that no one's ever done this before. And when you do, and I think that's, it's actually made me realize something about Citizen Kane, is that I didn't think about Orson Welles possibly being scared, which I'm sure he wasn't because he's fucking Orson. But like the going night, we're going to try to do a thing that no one's ever done, and we might fall on our face, and we're going to try it because we believe in it. And that's what we want to see. This is why it's funny. We're about to, when we get off the mic on this, we're going to talk about the MCU again and Ant-Man. And I totally like Ant-Man and it's really fun. But this is why there need to be movies that aren't the MCU because Marvel's not going to do this. That's not the job. This is going to push the envelope. And I'll just say one more thing, which is I'd never seen Fruitvale Station. So after seeing Sinners, I watched Fruitvale Station, which as a person from the Bay Area, it's the most Oakland movie I've ever seen. Like it just and I lived in Oakland for a while. It just captures Oakland in this beautiful way. That is such a profound, and I think I said this to you when we were talking off mic, is that I probably like Reservoir Dogs better as a premiere movie, but in a weird way, man, Fruitvale Station is as much of I am announcing my presence to the world as a great filmmaker as Reservoir Dogs is for me.
Yeah, and I think so because he has gone on to keep making great films, right?
Exactly.
There are plenty of independent filmmakers who come out with a really good first film, but can't keep the quality and the output going at the same level or increasing the level of quality. And Tarantino, Coogler, these are these rare, Soderbergh, these are these rare filmmakers that come out with a smaller, independent, quiet film. Well, quiet in terms of the fact that it didn't make $700 million. I mean, more like just one of these smaller independent films. And then people are like immediately like, well, this is a person to watch out for. And then they keep plussing it as they expand their audience and expand the budgets. That's really important too, because that's can trip up a lot of smaller indie filmmakers when they get more money and there's demands on them from the studio. And I think Ryan has done an exceptional job across the board. I mean, reviving two franchises, not reviving, I guess, the MCU, but certainly getting its only Best Picture nomination, reviving Rocky, which was incredible. Yes, you can argue Black Panther 2, maybe not as strong, but The Fruitvale Station is a fantastic beginning film. And then you get a film like this. And this is, and I tweeted it out. I said, this is an auteur's masterpiece. It's not just a masterpiece. This is an auteur's masterpiece. It's very clear that this is Ryan Coogler's voice, Ryan Coogler's inner mind, his education. It is all up on the screen, and his love of Black culture and his intelligence, because he's challenging us constantly. I mean, we haven't even hit on the fact that he is making a commentary about the dangers of religion in the Black community, because he is. That's an element of this as well. So there's a lot that he is commenting on throughout the movie, and that's what makes a great film that both of us enjoy when we do the Cine-Files, is that you can keep coming back to these classic films rather, and pick up something new and find something or discover something new. And even as you just did, watching another incredible film can make you look back on a classic film like Citizen Kane and reappreciate certain elements of Citizen Kane as well. And so that's the greatness of a film versus a movie, and certainly this is one of those.
There you go, 2035 Sinners on the Cine-Files. Or maybe, honestly, even sooner.
Honestly, probably sooner. I would be quite open to breaking our rule to talk about this film, Oppenheimer, 1917, and Parasite. Like, I think the time is coming, and I know the demand from our audience is growing and growing for us to do these kinds of things. So it may happen sooner than later for sure.
Well, I'm not saying anything. I'm not making any statements at all. Sure. But we have not picked. We just finished the season of the Coen Brothers. We have not picked our director for next year. Ooh. If that director were Christopher Nolan, I'm saying we're doing Oppenheimer.
I have to say that I am 1,000% on board with you. Just talking about Oppenheimer through this discussion with Sinners, it makes me want to pop it back on again and spend 3 hours watching it, because I love that movie. So,
and I'll just say, if the director is Ryan Coogler, then maybe we're doing Sinners.
Maybe we're doing Sinners. Very good. Remember that when you guys are voting later on. Remember that later on in the year. All right, well, let's wrap it up there because this is supposed to be a short before it veers too far into a long. That's our discussion on Sinners. We certainly want to hear from you all. What did you think of Sinners? What's your thoughts on it? A lot of you email us. A lot of you send us Patreon messages, which we appreciate. And some of you tweeted us. So please let us know what you guys think about it, or you Facebook message us your thoughts. We want to hear what you think about it and what stood out to you. And if we missed anything in our discussion overall on the movie, we'd love to hear your thoughts and analysis. And of course, keep it civil, keep it respectful. We don't want agitated, angry type of messages. That's not the way things go here. So please keep it as civil as possible. All right. For my partner, Steve Morris, I'm John Rocha. This has been our discussion on Sinners on another brand new episode of the Cine-Files Shorts. Take care. Until then. All right, that's our recording of our thoughts about Sinners that we recorded back in 2025. I think both Steve and I stand by our opinions about that movie, and I'm sure we had feelings that this thing was going to be looked at for Oscars consideration, but I don't think either of us, Steve, thought that it was going to be nominated for 16 Academy Awards and break the record for the most nominations for a film at the Academy Awards. It is nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, I guess I should say, for Best Director, Ryan Coogler, Best Actor, Michael B. Jordan, Best Supporting Actor, Delroy Lindo, Best Supporting Actress, Wumi Masaku, Best Original Screenplay, Ryan Coogler, Best Casting, Francine Maisler, then Best Cinematography, Best Film Editing, Best Costume Design, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Original Score, Ludwig Göransson there, Best Original Song, Best Production Design, Best Sound, and Best Visual Effects. And for Costume Design, Ruth E. Carter, should mention her as well. So, Steve, 16 categories. Where do you think Sinners might be walking away with that gold statuette?
Now, is this the kind of thing where in the record book they have to put an asterisk next to that 16 because there were rules changes when the casting award was added, so it had an opportunity for more awards because there were more categories?
No, because I think it broke it even with the casting. So it was just like one extra. So, yeah.
Well, and categories have gone away over the years, so I guess you need asterisks for those things. For 16 nominations is crazy. I mean, that is absolutely insane. I am certain it's going to win some of them.
Yeah.
As I've said many times, I'm no good at predicting stuff, but I definitely have strong feelings about a lot of these categories.
Yeah. So that's your way of not answering where you think it's going to win? Is that your way of staying on the fence?
I mean, are we going to go through them? You just want a total number? Or are we going to go through some of these individually?
Yes. Which one? Do you think Best Picture? Do you think it wins Best Picture? Yes or no?
I think it's between this and One Battle After Another, and I would like Sinners to win Best Picture. That's who I am voting for Sinners for Best Picture.
Okay, Best Director. Do you think it has a shot to win?
Well, wait, no. What do you? Yeah. You can't just move on. This is not interviewing me. You're supposed to tell me what you think. I see. It wasn't you. Now we see who is actually avoiding the questions.
Yeah, this is tough, man, because the momentum has really turned in their favor. But is that fool's gold? Have these votes already been in process? And that international body that's 20% of the voting body, will they necessarily see Sinners as powerful as One Battle After Another? I don't know. So, but I think One Battle is going to end up winning it. And I think Coogler wins Best Director, not PTA. I think the bias against PTA continues. What do you think?
Well, I'm still waiting to hear where are you voting? What do you think about these movies?
It's One Battle After Another is for Best Picture. That's what I think. Yeah.
Is that what you think will win, or is that what you would vote for? I want to know what John.
That's what you're asking me.
This is the Cine-Files Awards. This isn't an Oscar prediction show. This is about what you think, man.
I'll tell you what I would vote for, Hamnet. That's what I would vote for. That's my best picture.
That's the answer I want to hear.
I apologize. Yes, that's my answer. Yes. I thought we were looking at what film, what they might win in, and I think it has a shot at winning that.
We certainly can talk about what might win. Why do you think Hamnet over One Battle After Another, Sinners, and all these other great films?
I just feel that film has a resonance for me that the other films don't have, and I think it's the most complete film of all the films. Because I do think there are third act issues with Sinners. I do think the middle of One Battle After Another gets a little muddy. And I don't have any complaints about Hamnet. Not a one.
There you go.
It's absolutely one of the greatest films I've ever seen. But I also know it's a film that a lot of people aren't necessarily gravitating to. But if it pulls an upset, no one would be happier than me.
That's
no
awesome.
one would be happier than me.
Awesome. Yeah. And you mentioned Best Director. To me, I don't know how you judge it. Like I don't have a way to look at Sinners and One Battle After Another and other films I love like Hamnet and Secret Agent. We just talked about Begonia and Yorgos. It's very hard for me to judge. So I would love to see Ryan Coogler win, and I would be thrilled to see PTA win. I would be thrilled to see Chloe Zhao win. But my gut is, again, I really am a huge supporter of Sinners. I really am.
Yeah. All right. Do you think Best Actor? Do you think Michael B has a shot at Best Actor, or do you think it's going to go to Chalamet? Has he poisoned the well?
So my favorite performance is probably actually Ethan Hawke. I think his performance. It's not. I don't think it's. It was correct for it not to be nominated for Best Picture.
Right.
But I think his performance is really fantastic. I think Chalamet is great, but I think Chalamet is great in a way that we've seen. Again, he's competing against himself. It's like what I said with Emma Stone. Is this performance as good as the Bob Dylan performance? No, I don't think it is. And I think Leo's great. Leo is absolutely fantastic, but I would pick Michael B. Jordan over Leo.
Okay, all right.
What about you?
Yeah, I think Chalamet takes this in the end. I do think that was the performance of the year. Although our conversation just of talking about Begonia, I think Jesse is much higher up than people might think, even though he wasn't nominated. And so, you could definitely you would not have to work hard to convince me that Jesse was the performance of the year, which is a shame that he wasn't nominated.
Well, John, let me ask you this. Are there one or two, because we can't go through all 16 of these like this. That would be ridiculous. Is there one or two categories that Sinners is nominated for that you really care about?
Yes, I would say Best Original Screenplay. I want to see Ryan get that kind of like support from the Academy, and I think he deserves it to win Best Original Screenplay. And I do think with Best Supporting Actor, I'll be very curious to see if Delroy pulls an upset. Honestly, I just would be very curious to see, because I mean, you're splitting the votes between Sean Penn and Benicio del Toro. I actually don't think sentimental value there, Stellan Skarsgård's performance is that stunning or that interesting. And so I just kind of think that Delroy Lindo could possibly sneak in here and not steal the Oscar, but surprise people and win the Oscar in the end. So I don't know. I kind of have that feeling, So what about you?
Delroy Lindo has my vote.
Yeah.
That's who I want to win. The other performances are great. And it's one of those, this is the weird thing about the Oscars. Because the Oscars, people don't just vote for what they saw in that movie. They vote for what is happening in the world at this moment. What is my history with this actor? Sometimes it's what is my politics? What do I, there are all these feelings that are going on. And all of those feelings lead me to really, really want Delroy Lindo to win.
Yeah.
In addition to the fact that his performance is so great, but it's also the capper of many, many, many great performances from this actor that have not been recognized.
Agreed.
As opposed to Sean Penn or Benicio, where they've been lauded many times, and it's like I want Delroy to have this. I also think it's really hard to beat Ruthie Carter, man. She is the Edith Head of our generation, and those costumes, particularly Smoke and Stack, are fantastic.
And of course Jacob Elordi's in that category as well, and he's fantastic as the monster. Don't be surprised if he pulls an upset and wins this thing. It is such an up in the air category for sure. All right, well, let's move on to our next film, Steve. Let's talk about this one. It is Secret Agent. This one is starring Wagner Moura, who is nominated for Best Actor himself for this film that's set in 1977. It is a film in Portuguese. It is directed by Kleber Mendoza Filho. I hope I'm saying that right. This is an up-and-coming director that a lot of people are very excited about. Also wrote the film as well. And it, as I said, it deals with Armando, who is Wagner Moura's character, who is a former professor caught in the political turmoil in the midst of the Brazilian military dictatorship in 1977. He attempts to flee persecution and resist an authoritarian regime. And it's full of an incredible array of characters, an incredible array of actors bringing them to life. And it's a 2-hour, 40-minute movie that at times does feel its length and at other times feels incredible. But by the end, Steve, I found myself utterly depressed and utterly just destroyed by the film, because we see what's happening in our world now. We see what's happening in other countries now. And this idea of dictatorships is starting to take hold in a lot of these countries, and authoritarian impulses are starting to control. And so this film was a very, very hard watch for me, watching it again for our show, because there's just too much that hits close to home that I can't just brush off and go, that's something to think about. Hope it never happens to us, because I feel like it is. And so what are your thoughts on this movie, Stephen, from Secret Agent?
I really loved this movie. I really did. And it's funny. It has a very strange ending, a very surprising ending, and it's handled in a very strange way. And it is an ending that I'm going to have to reckon with, because I didn't actually like. It's not that I thought the ending was bad. It's just it very clearly does not give you some things that you want, and then sort of says, and here you go,
Yeah. It's abrupt. It's abrupt.
And so, like, I think I can't fully evaluate. I've seen the movie once. I am sure I'll watch it again in a few years, and maybe watch it again in another few years. And maybe then I'll have a better evaluation on how I feel about it as a whole, because the ending I found difficult. But this is something we've been saying about all the films. I felt, I'm in the hands of a director with a vision. This person and that world that he creates of 1977 Brazil felt so completely real, so completely lived in. It felt so much, and the people, the casting, the use of sets, all of it was like, these are just real people. It felt so incredibly grounded. And the way we saw the world through the eyes of this director was entirely unique, including some stuff that is batshit fucking crazy that happens. And I'm referring, to the hairy leg. I mean, that's some weird ass shit. But I was so captivated. And what was it was the mundanity of the oppression. It was the normalcy of the danger that was happening, that it was just, because I think, we've been asking this question for years of, what was those people in Nazi Germany doing in 1933 and 35 and 36, and what was this like? And it was like, they were going about their lives. Yeah. Just as we are going about our lives today, because that's actually what you have to do, is you have to go get your food and do your job, and still you're going to party on the weekends and maybe go to carnival. It was a fascinating movie.
Yeah. It shows you that people find a way to survive even amongst the most dire of circumstances, even among the most dangerous of circumstances. They still want to party and want to celebrate. The human spirit must find its moments to enjoy life in some way, shape, or form, even with the threat of authoritarianism, the corruption of these morons who are put in power above the citizenry, and what they do with their abuse of power. And I think what I liked about the movie also, Steve, is that it pulled no punches in showing you the decay of a society when it is run under authoritarian regime. And I even, the opening scene with that body under cardboard at the gas station just shows you the matter of frankness. The dogs coming to gnaw some of the flesh off of the body. It shows the devaluing of human life, or any life. And even some of the sexual stuff, right? When we goes to the projectionist, his father-in-law, and this woman is giving a blowjob to the guy there in the balcony, and he's like, it happens every show. It happens every so. You're seeing that, or the dude having sex with a prostitute in the archives records. It just shows you that when there is no value for human life, the debauchery and the indulging in this kind of approach to the world becomes accentuated, becomes more permissible in a society, and you see that throughout. And the hairy leg thing too, I think that's that is, as a Latino, having a weird ass thing pop up in the middle of a drama like this is not out of the realm of the possibility of some of the content I saw from my parents' stuff when they had, some of the movies they took me to see in downtown DC when they showed old Latino movies. There was always some weird shit that happens in the middle, some folktale stuff that happens in the middle. You're like, this is just a signature of this kind of cinema. So to see that popping up in this movie, because it is a South American movie and my parents are South American, to me, it was like, this is actually kind of funny. It brought me back to that time, but I agree with you. It does kind of end abruptly, and it is, and the fact that his own son has hardly any memories of him, just like his he didn't have hardly any memories of his mom. It's that kind of like passing on of the shared familial trauma. But I wonder, Steve, how did you think about it being framed in the context of Jaws? Using Jaws to be this thing that is the reference point throughout the movie. Even seeing a shark with that hairy leg coming out of it, which was really insane scene to start the film. Your thoughts on that?
It was so funny that it kept coming up, and obviously we spent a hell of a lot of time with Jaws last year. So it did many things at once, because it really set it at this moment. It also, because movies, because we're also in a cinema, in a projection room, movies play such a central part, like the contrast between what is perceived as the artistic culture and what's actually going on in the world. And in that sense, the idea of the shark, because this is a movie about someone being hunted, and we watch the people that are slowly closing in on them. So the idea of the shark is a great metaphor. And I also feel like there's something about the banality of Armando and what has happened. Now, the movie's not actually going to tell us all the details of how he got to this position and exactly what happened with his wife and all of those things. But what seems really clear is this was not a revolutionary. This was not an insurgent. It wasn't a terrorist. It was someone who ran afoul of the wrong person, who was connected to the government. And you can feel that slowly but surely their life completely fell apart. Somewhere his wife died, and now he is on the run. And eventually, that's what's going to happen. And it's the people that are lost within the system, and we see people today who we're hearing all the time of people with no criminal record being hauled away to jail and detained for many, many, many days. And so it does resonate very powerfully.
I agree.
The one thing I would like to bring up is I think the casting of all of the supporting players is some of the best I've ever seen. I want to highlight a couple of them. Because they feel completely real. They do not feel like actors to me. They feel like these real people in these situations. One of them is Tanya Maria, who plays Donna Sebastiana. Doña Sebastiana, I adore her. She felt like such an amazing, heroic, incredible character, an amazing piece of casting. Also, Carlos Francisco as Mr. Alexander. I mean, that guy felt like that guy. And there's a moment in the movie where it starts to feel like someone's hunting him. And I was sitting there going, no, you can't take out Alexander. I don't care what the fuck happens in this movie. You cannot kill that guy.
Yeah, agreed. And, the thing with Tanya Maria, she was not an actress. She was an extra in the film he did before, that the director did before. And she even said in her film career, she had never watched an entire movie or gone to the movies. And her contact to television was very minimal. She was a woman, according to her biography on Wikipedia here, she decided to become a single mother at 27, then worked as a health counselor at the basic health unit there, suffered a lot of stigma, even had a petition signed asking, people had a petition got up asking for her dismissal. So she left the unit and became a seamstress for a majority of her life. And the reason her voice sounds the way it does is that she smoked up to 3 packs of cigarettes a day. And so that's why you get that kind of throaty perform. But a lot of people said in their review of the movie that she should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress, that she was so good in the role, that so natural and so believable, as you said, that she should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress, including The Hollywood Reporter and The New York Times. So yeah, you're right to point her out. She's so great. And it also shows you, sometimes you can be afraid to be a rebel or a revolutionary or to go against the government. But there are people who are born with this steel. And no matter what age they are, they will defy authoritarian regimes in their own way, in their own either quiet or a subtle way. And she does that. And I love the strength and power that she has, creating a home, trying to create some joy in that home for all these dissidents and these refugees. So while still being very much against the government, I love that for her performance and her character for sure in the film.
That trying to maintain joy, I think, is so key to her character. And what happens in this movie, largely because of her, and also because of sort of the meeting with the other, people who are being hunted, or people outside the government,
Yeah.
is there's a sense of normalization of the resistance.
Yeah.
That this is what she's been doing her whole life. I mean, she talks about it going back to Rome and Italy during World War II, and that you see these are the next generation and children who are having to go through because oppressive governments go on and on and on. You know, and I've never seen that. And it was the normalcy of it. It wasn't what I've seen is what we see at the beginning of One Battle After Another. I've seen the resistance fighting.
Right.
But not just the like, oh, there are people who are the outcasts of society that live outside of the rules and they have to have their own society, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with you. Since regimes go on and on, rebellions go on and on. That one must exist for the other. It is the balance of the universe, sadly, when you look at this stuff. What do you think about the direction throughout the movie here, Steve? Before we wrap up our discussion, get into the possibility of their awards. What do you think about the direction here? Did you enjoy this as, you know, seeing from this point of view, this up and coming director who's becoming very much a voice for his country and his people?
I've said many times, I really like our slate of movies this year, and I feel like it's a privilege to witness the vision of a whole bunch of visionary directors.
Yeah.
In Hamnet, in One Battle After Another, in Sinners, in Begonia, and in this. These are, and Train Dreams too. These are all movies that only that person could make. No other person could make this movie. I felt, I mean, there's so much confidence in the direction. Mm-hmm. It's such a steady hand. It's saying, no, you're going to now look at this now. Yeah. And now you're going to look at this now. And I don't need to explain why you're seeing this. And I don't need to hold your hand through it because I know this is what this movie is. I think this is an incredibly strong director.
Agreed 100%. Well, here are the 4 categories it's nominated in: Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Casting, and Best International Feature. I would think Best International Feature is where it has the best chances, Steve, but any chance that Wagner Moura comes in and upsets the apple cart and takes the Best Actor, because I've seen that starting to pop up in a number of predictions from people as well. What are your thoughts on any of these categories and the chances the film has?
So first of all, just on the international feature thing, yes, I think it's going to win. And frequently when a movie is nominated for actual Best Picture, it will frequently win international feature. I have seen none of the other international features, so my opinion on that is pretty darn worthless. I can't imagine him winning for Best Actor. I think he's great. He's great from top to bottom. But it just, you know, and there's also the thing of like, well, theoretically, people have watched all of the nominations. Yes. But sometimes they don't.
Yes.
And Hollywood is an insider community of people that all know each other. And the odds of them voting for this person outside of the community when there is such controversy at the top of the ticket seems really unlikely to me.
Yeah, that's very possible. I agree with you 100%. But again, as I said earlier, if Wagner pulls the upset, I won't be upset. I think he does a great job in this movie. Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's move on to our last film in this block of films here, Steve. One Battle After Another from Paul Thomas Anderson. And we spoke about this already last year.
Yeah, we talked about this back in October. And again, this is from one of our Cine-Files shorts. And John, I think at this point you had already seen the film 3 times.
Yes.
And I had seen it my first time. And we were both just bubbling with it. And it led to what I think was a great conversation.
I agree. Let's listen to it now.
Hello and welcome to a version of Cine-Files Shorts because I just literally said to John, hit record, because I yesterday went to see One Battle After Another, the Paul Thomas Anderson movie. I saw it at the Vista Theater, which is Quentin Tarantino's theater, projected in VistaVision on film. Looked great. Don't love the sound in that theater, but it's a hell of a movie, John. And you wanted to talk about it, and I said, let's just do it as a short.
Yeah, I've seen it 4 times now.
Jesus,
which is why I want to talk. And Warner Brothers apparently found out about this on one of my shows and has sent me a Fandango code to go see it in 70 millimeter. So I will be seeing it one more time in the 70 millimeter. But sadly, I would love to have seen it in VistaVision like you, Steve, because I've heard it's gorgeous to look at in the VistaVision. But yes, this is a film that I think is so important for us to discuss. Not because of the politics within the film. That's an element of the film for sure. But I think people are misunderstanding what this movie is trying to say. And I've seen the debate on in Variety. Some of the columnists is like, this is not a left-wing movie. And it's not a left-wing or right-wing movie. It's a movie about people and about a father and daughter who are being hunted down by a person who has ulterior motives to benefit himself, very similar to Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men, although a much more of a different type of extreme character. And so for me, this is the gift of the movie. This is what keeps bringing me back to the movie. It isn't the politics. It's the father-daughter relationship with DiCaprio and Chase Infinity. But what the film does so deftly is show how both sides are full of flawed, moronic people.
Yep.
And that the thing that is the heart of the movie is the relationship. And that's what you should be taking away from the movie. And forgiveness at the end and understanding at the end, which I think is really powerful when we hear the mom reading the letter. By the way, we're going to spoil some of it. So if you haven't watched One Battle After Another, I suppose we should tell you from the beginning, we will spoil some of it. So there you go.
I mean, there's really no way to talk about it without spoiling it. I mean, it's funny. I'll tell you what I thought about as I'm watching it, which is I remember when you and I talked about Andor season 2.
Yeah.
And I said at the time something like probably the least entertaining episode is one that I think is the most important, which was the episode where they're on Yavin and we have the two rebel groups fighting each other.
Yep.
Because I was like, this is the moronic, this is the reality. This is everything I've read about history, everything I've read about the Russian Revolution, about Cambodia, about all these places, is that this is what's going to happen, is that we want to believe that it is, George Washington fighting the revolution with all these brilliant people, but that's probably not it. And when you look at the French 75 and the opening of this movie, I mean, it's thrilling and exciting. And you're like, what the hell are these people doing? And then over and over again, and again, you said it, we're spoiling things, is that you have these people who are fighting for the resistance and they have all this passion and all this furor. And I think every fucking one of them, when they get captured, gives evidence. They chicken out almost immediately, every single one of them.
Even Regina Hall, who near the end is being trumpeted as the one who fought the fight the right way, the one who was really dedicated. We have this really devastatingly powerful scene where she, who has judged Chase Infinity's mom for being a stool pigeon or for being a person of turncoat, she is now confronted with that decision and has to make that decision. It's a beautifully well acted scene with her tears of utter pain, realizing that she is now going to become this thing that she has hated for so long herself.
And frankly, she gives it up pretty quick.
Yes.
You know, like there's the guy later who comes in and makes jokes. And then as soon as they threaten his family, that's it. And I'm not judging that. Like, I don't know that if someone threatens my family or threatens me with torture or prison or something, that I wouldn't give it up right away. Maybe I'd say there's probably a good chance I could. It's not that I'm judging it. It's just the idiocy of so much that's going on. And the fact that our central character is Leonardo DiCaprio, who is hugely flawed. In all sorts of ways, which is also why the movie is really, really funny. I mean, it becomes, and even the bad guys are funny because the situation is so insane of what's going on with them.
Hail St. Nick, Steve. Yeah, exactly.
Hail St. Nick.
The Christmas crew, whatever they're called. I mean, it is so ridiculous, which is, of course, listen, there's a way to ridicule white supremacy while still showing the horrors of white supremacy when it has a government, an arm of the government to enforce its will, right? And that's what you see with some of what Sean Penn's character is doing. But you can have the mocking aspect of it all with the Hail St. Nick stuff. It's very similar to Django Unchained. Yes, there's the funny scene with Jonah Hill and who cut the holes in the bags and do they fit correctly or not, right? But you never lose the fear of what DiCaprio can do in that movie to Django, to Christoph Waltz's characters, and to his other black slaves. Even Sam Jackson is obviously a party to it. So you never lose the terror of the thing that you are making fun of. And that is very difficult to do. And I think the film does a great job of that in One Battle After Another. Yes, I'm laughing at these idiots, but I also understand how terrifying these idiots are in existence, you know?
Well, this is the thing. It's like, I mean, how many times, and again, I don't want to make this political either, is that there are many, many times where both on the left or the right, in the midst of very serious situations, did really stupid stuff.
Oh, yeah.
where you look at it and you're like, oh my God, what are you thinking? And of course, the reality is, and this is, I really think that we think of movie stars and directors and politicians and CEOs and all these people as they are some sort of special human that aren't really like us.
Right.
But no, they are exactly like us. They have all the same flaws. They, it's like, I want to go back to the children's book of Everybody Poops.
Yeah.
Like, we have to remind ourselves that Donald Trump sometimes, gets constipated.
Yeah.
Like, these things, like, they're normal people. And the thing about the Sean Penn character, who I think, we said when we were talking off mic that there's some people that find it a cliche character. I find his performance great.
Yeah.
Is his character is a complicated, fucked up guy.
Yes.
Who, and this is the thing, again, I said this off mic, but I'll say it again now, is that I had no idea where this movie was going to go. From beginning to end, I was sitting there going, like, as soon as, and again, I'll spoil it, but like, Tiana Taylor, when she captures Sean Penn, she asks him to do a thing that is shocking. Right. And then where it goes continues to be shocking over and over again.
Yeah, and because there's so much symbolism in that, in the idea of, because there is this idea of the rebels are these whole principled, holistic people. They care about the thing that they're fighting for. But the truth is, if you've hung out with a bunch of liberals, if you've hung out with a bunch of progressives, if you hung out with a bunch of rebels, they are always of conflicting points of views, conflicted ideologies, and personal grudges and personal beliefs about what is the right thing to do, and they'll fight with each other, right? So that's what I think is so great about the movie. If you focus on the liberals, if you think this is showing liberals or progressives are the heroes of the story, you're out of your mind. Both sides are shown to be incompetent buffoons in a lot of ways, and comical in their way. Like, why are you robbing a bank brazenly in the middle of the day, and then what'd she call herself? Something pussy. I can't remember what she called herself. And she walks across the bank, like all of that. But as soon as someone gets shot, all of a sudden their righteous principles and their righteous stance and being in control, they all fall to their fucking knees and run out the bank like scared little children, right? It just shows you that there's a lot of posturing on all sides. But beneath it all, as Steve said, are human beings who are subject to all the flaws that human beings are subject to, and they're not special. We have this belief that they're special. And I think the film does a great job of deconstructing all sides of a political battle and showing you the nonsense of it all. Even the title, One Battle After Another, that just means it never ends because it's so stupid. It consistently goes and goes and goes because we as human beings are flawed. So what is the gift of us? It is love. It is the love between a father and a daughter. It is a love that is tested until the final moments of the movie. And when it is tested and it is resolved and it is fully established again, we have this really sweet moment between them about an iPhone and taking pictures and all of that. And that's the beauty of it, is the madness of the world is always going to be there, but you've got to find this just peace in the storm, calm in the storm, which is hopefully love, And I think that's what's so powerful about the movie. And again, it does not take sides, which I think is the genius of it as well.
You know what I think the movie is gets some of its power from is we have so much experience with the crack team of infiltrating experts. Like you got the tech guy and you got the martial arts expert and the weapons expert and the volitions expert, and they're going to go in and they're just going to kick ass. And we have seen that in 100 movies in 100 different ways. Right. And so when this movie starts and we're like, oh, I get it. Leonardo DiCaprio, he's kind of the demolition guy and she's this. And you want to believe that that's what it is. Right. And then what you do is you go like, oh no, he can't even remember the code word. Yes. Which is a hilarious sequence where he's just sitting there going, they're giving him the code and he has to do the response. And he's like, look, I'm pretty high. Yeah. It was a long time ago. Yeah. I don't know. It's me. And it's all so damn funny, because they're humans. Like I've forgotten my password. You've forgotten your password for things. I mean, because we're dumb. We do dumb stuff all the time. I can't even tell you how many times I've changed passwords because I've forgotten passwords. It's 100% the truth. Yeah. And I also think the Tiana Taylor character is so fascinating because I think, once again, like you said, Steve, we believe this thing about people and this idea that they're somehow pure in their goals.
But this is a woman who is clearly lost and believes a certain principle, and so goes with the French 75 or whatever they're called, and commits these acts because she thinks she's doing the right thing. But there is a selfish personal desire of hers to have a sexual connection with the people that she is trying to remove power from, right? But also has the connection with DiCaprio. So she's trying to have sex with DiCaprio when the bomb is about to go off, right? Because once again, this idea, she is going to satisfy herself, her personal desires. Just like the other side, they're satisfying their personal desires and the things that they want to do. So there's a mirror image going on both sides the whole time. And I see some people say, well, she's a pretty terrible character. It's like, no, actually, she's a human character, and human beings are fucked up. And they're going to indulge their own proclivities within a cause because human beings are fucked up. That's the truth. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just the truth, you know?
Yeah, we're all human. I mean, and the thing, for whatever reason, violence and sex and power and sex are linked for her character and to some degree for Sean Penn's character. Like, that's all mixed up in there.
Again, yes.
Power and domination and all that stuff, and that's in there, and that causes her to make choices that are poor choices. I mean, but by the way, I have to say, like, to me, the most responsible character is Sensei.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro. Absolutely.
Benicio del Toro. That is what's really funny about it, because Benicio del Toro has made a career out of twisting characters.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, he's not going to speak in a way that he's going to make some choice and be sort of out over in left field.
Yeah.
Sensei in this movie is the most straight ahead solid character I've ever seen him play.
Yes.
And he's just kind of got it all together in some bizarre way, you know?
He's very calm. And listen, I'm still processing the movie in a lot of ways, which is why I'm going to do like a 45-minute breakdown of the movie on my channel because I just love the movie so much. And there's so much to talk about. And I find it fascinating that it's the Latino character who is the calm one in the storm while black and white sides are fighting on this thing, liberals, but is the Latino character who is like, okay, we got to get everybody lined up. We got to get them out. They've got their community, the kids on the skateboards. Like, he has everything lined up and he never loses it. He never goes out of control. And when DiCaprio's kind of losing his mind, he's the one that calms him down. He was teaching Chase her knowledge of martial arts, which she uses later in the movie, and her calmness in the storm. Because if you remember that scene when we first meet her when she's a teenager, he is teaching her how to do the moves, and he says to her, "You're not breathing. You need to breathe in order to be calm." And you, as a martial artist, you must have loved that moment.
You get told you're not breathing all the time. That every day you will get told, breathe.
And it's the same for an actor. Sometimes an actor, you're told you're not breathing. You're just kind of sitting in this place. You've got to let that live in the moment. And so that's comes to. So yes, and even the drunk driving scene, which I think is amazing when he's pulled over, like his little dance and stuff. That is my uncles at every function I ever went to growing up when they're drunk, doing weird shit like that. And so to me, there was an element of that I thought was really powerful as well, that he is this person who is, he has an ideology, he adheres to the ideology and the principle of it, and he's found the calmness of it all because he's not a reactionary. And there's a gift in that I think is important in the movie as well, Steve.
Well, and he's got a plan and a system and has worked things out in the way that the French 75 does not seem to. Like, they go into, they charge into some, detention center and they're freeing a bunch of people, but you don't get a sense that those people are going to be okay. Like, they don't have a plan beyond that. Whereas I just call him Sensei, Benicio del Toro, he's got a safe house. He's got all sorts of people working in the safe house who clearly have
railroad almost.
They have instructions. They have contingency plans. They have safe, like all this stuff going on. Yeah. And even with this crazy Leonardo DiCaprio character, he's like, okay, I'm going to take care of you too. Yeah. Like he has the ability to just like take on everything, you know?
It's amazing to watch. I agree. And I think the thing with DiCaprio's character is so fascinating because, Steve, we've talked about Killers of the Flower Moon. I thought he was horribly miscast in that role, and I thought he did a terrible job with that role, honestly. And this role is so much more the low-level DiCaprio role that he can do so well. And this didn't feel like a miscast at all. As you said, his comedic beats are so genius in certain moments. When he drops to the ground so the cops don't see him, in the dojo.
In the dojo?
That is genius, man. That's the actual reaction of a dude who's got high a lot, his brain's a little fried, and he thinks if I just drop down, they won't see me. It's so childish but smart. And the fact that he won't jump out of the car because he's afraid of his body being hurt, and Sensei has to jerk the car around so he falls out. These little things. But again, what's so great about performance and writing is it doesn't take away from the moment when he reunites with his daughter near the end. That's still powerful because he's determined to save his daughter, no matter what. He's a bumbling idiot moron who can't remember a password and is scared all the time, but he loves his daughter deeply and he fights for her. And, he risks 2 hitmen, for God's sakes, Sean Penn and the guy who's coming after Sean Penn from the Christmas People, to get to his daughter. It's amazing,
Well, and her journey is really fascinating too, because she obviously knows some of the history.
Yes.
And she's in that situation. It's like, you know what it's like? It's like Terminator 2, where you're John Connor, who has been hearing from your crazy parent that there's some conspiracy, and you never 100% believe it until you're in the middle of it. And when she's in the middle of it, all the training and all the stuff, she has to deal with it. And I think she has a great performance, and she shows real strength in the scene with Sean Penn, who again, I think is fascinating to watch through the whole movie.
Yes. And as I was telling Steve before we started, like, I've seen some people try to say that Sean Penn is doing like a caricature, and I just have to correct anybody who thinks that. And so if anybody listening to us, if you really think that, I have to tell you, I've served in the military with people just like Sean Penn, literally just like Sean Penn, because these are people that are not intelligent, but they're handed positions of power because they are singular of focus. And they get the jobs done because they're not distracted by thinking about the ramifications of the things they are doing. They follow orders really well. And then as they assume power, they start to believe they have power. And so they indulge just like Tiana Taylor's character, they indulge their own personal desires as they achieve more power. His desire to sleep with the black revolutionary, have sex with the black revolutionary, to fall in love with the female black revolutionary, and then to have a child, in essence, almost with the black revolutionary. All of that, even though he wants to be part of a white supremacist organization, that is a window into how fucked up this guy is, right? And so there's so much about what he does here that is just, to me, was really believable, not a caricature. I've talked and served with guys like this who talk like this, believe like this, and it is unsettling. And his violence towards her, I mean, he serves her up to die, bro. Like, that is a shocking moment, man.
No, I mean, honestly, it's the flip side of Tiana Taylor's character, is that I really think there is for some people, hatred and attraction and violence and racism, they fit in. They're linked up. I mean, obviously I don't have to talk about the horrible history of, rape as a weapon of war and how it operates. Like, that's in there. The other thing I found interesting about the movie is that Paul Thomas Anderson avoids placing it in any real America today, but it feels very much like America. You know what I mean? Like, is that he manages, and that's one of those things that a filmmaker talks about a lot. Like, exactly what are we saying here? Exactly how does this work? Yeah. So it feels familiar. So I think that Civil War also tried to walk this line of doing, this isn't exactly America today and Trump and left and right as we see them, but it's something analogous. And for me, that didn't work. And that movie is a really well-made movie by really talented people that did not work for me.
Yeah.
And this movie's the opposite. I think it really, really worked. Not the opposite that it's not talented people, also talented people.
Right. Yes.
But really worked for me.
Well, because it understood that it didn't have to be self-important and super serious to tell its message. Right. And I think this is what you get lost when Civil War was clearly a political movie with a political point of view from one side towards the other, even though, as you said, it's not necessarily reflecting what is going on, but it is kind of reflecting a nebulous version of what's going on. This film is almost prescient, Steve, with what we're seeing and what we've experienced over the last few months. Considering this film was shot like a year ago, the fact that they are this prescient to what we've seen happening over the last 9 months I think there's something really powerful in that for people who are watching the movie who recognize it. And I think that's why some people have defaulted to thinking it's a left-wing movie, because they're not smart enough, or they're invested in pushing the misinformation that this was somehow shot as a reaction to things that were happening, when this film was shot a year ago, before any of the stuff, before even Trump was elected. I think the film was shot. So how would you know this is happening? So it's just a commentary on that. It just happened to work out the way it did. And I think there's something really smart about that, you know?
I think it is a left-wing movie in the sense that, like, the main thing that the revolutionaries are fighting for are immigrants being detained.
Yes.
And the main bad guys are racists, and, you know, so in that sense, it does have some left-leaning opinions, I would say, or it's slightly left-leaning, but I don't think that's the point of the movie.
No,
like
exactly.
yes, it's not the point, and this is the thing. The point of the movie is not to point at the bad guys and say, you are the bad guys and we are the good guys.
Right.
That's not the point of the movie at all.
No.
Yes, it does have, I would say, a left slant. But the point of the movie is is to tell this story. I mean, there's a thing to me about, it's not great movies. There are great movies that fall very much into a pattern. Like Die Hard, one of my favorite movies of all time, but it's very much in a genre. You know kind of where that movie's going to go.
Right.
Because that's, you know, John McClane's going to fight the terrorists and he's going to win. We know that's going to happen, even if we're not sure how it's going to happen. There are certain kinds of movies where they are just this movie. Like 2001 is just like 2001.
Right.
You know, Citizen Kane is just like Citizen Kane. There is nothing like it.
Yeah.
There is nothing like one battle after another.
Yeah, agreed.
You know, like this is what, you know, it's like Pulp Fiction is Pulp Fiction. It's not like anything else. This is like one battle after another. And there's something really amazing about being in the middle of a movie where you don't know where it's going to go. Yeah. You have no idea, you know, you are continually surprised by it. Yeah. It's incredibly tense. It's incredibly thrilling. It's really funny. And it takes you to a place that you entirely don't expect, you know?
Yeah. Well, I will push back on you on the left-leaning thing. I think we sometimes go like, well, if you care for all human beings, you're left-leaning. And it's like, it should just be, if you care for we should all care for human beings, all human beings. It's not a political point.
I agree.
Right. And so, but I can see how people can see it that way. I honestly, again, I said this to Jeff on Hot Mic 2 weeks ago. I do not go to see this movie because it satisfies a political point of view of mine. It's the performances, right? It's the relationships. And like you were saying, where it leads to, and even when you bring in the Native American guy, who I think is a great addition, and of course he's from Last of the Mohicans. He's the young guy who gets killed in Last of the Mohicans. Yeah, the brother of Daniel Day-Lewis's character, adopted brother of Daniel Day-Lewis's character. He is so good in the sequence that he gets. And yes, he's made fun of. What do they call him? What is it? What are they? The wagon burner? Like these terrible things that they call him.
Terrible.
But he does the job. Why? Because from the beginning, since white people came to the country, Native Americans have at times served white people in order to achieve their own survival. Right. And I love that there's a microcosm of that in this movie, in his performance, in his character. And then when the moment comes for him to hit his limit, which is a young girl in danger to these white men who are probably going to rape her and beat her and do terrible things to her and then kill her, as Sean Penn wanted her to be dead, he stands up and risks his life to save her. And I think there's something, again, powerful in that. It's saying, not left-leaning or right-leaning, it's saying, it's important to fight for the future, to fight for the youth. And yes, sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice yourself for to save people, to save our future, to save our country. There's little things like this that I think are just little quiet messages that are pulsating throughout the movie in certain storylines. And I love that about the film.
I think that moment with that Native American who's essentially a bounty hunter,
yes,
you know, like it's funny. We're doing Scarface right now, and we're about to get to a scene where Tony Montana, there will be something that is too far for him to go.
Yeah, right.
And that's what happens to this guy. Yeah. I mean, I like this guy a little more than I like Tony Montana.
As a director, you're watching this movie. What were your thoughts about Paul Thomas Anderson as a director? I mean, because, you know, we've covered a few of his movies, either in conversation or on as actual episodes of the show. I think we both revere him as a director. What did you think about this latest installment? Because I think it's a perfect mixture of the stuff he did in the past, like There Will Be Blood, and the more modern stuff he's tried to do recently with like Licorice Pizza and Inherent Vice. I think he found the sweet spot to evoke the past while also speaking about the present. And I thought that was a fascinating thing that he did this time around. What do you think about it?
So I didn't see Inherent Vice. And I think both you and I did not like Licorice Pizza.
Oh,
I did not like that film.
yeah.
So yeah, you could totally see that this is an evolution of his style.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I mean, honestly, you'll be happy to hear this. Would you like to know what movie I watched most of last night and we'll finish tonight? One of your all-time favorite movies that we plan on redoing on the Cine-Files?
What is that?
Amadeus.
Hey, that's right.
So I was watching it last night, and I got to tell you, I had such a powerful reaction this time to Salieri.
Yeah.
Because watching one battle after another, I felt like Salieri.
Oh.
Which is, I really have gotten to the place, I've gotten well past the arrogant 20-year-old who thought he was going to be Steven Spielberg or Paul Thomas Anderson or Quentin Tarantino or whoever. And now I know a lot. I feel like I know a lot more about movies than I did 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And knowing a lot more about movies, watching one battle after another, I go, I can see what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I could never do that. It is so far beyond just conceiving of making a movie the way Paul Thomas Anderson does is so far beyond anything I could come up with. Yeah. Like I just sit there. That's what I marvel at. Like it's this weird thing where it's like, I understand why that shot is working.
Right.
But I would never understand how you came up with doing it.
Right.
Like that's the big thing I was thinking watching it the whole time.
Oh, fascinating. For more of a technical. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, obviously I don't see it that way because I didn't study to be a film director. Although I've directed plays, it's a whole nother ballgame to be a film director and to know what camera angles are being used. But I will say this, and what lenses are being used. Doing the show has changed how I view movies so much in my life. And I had a similar reaction to you about Amadeus, but from the actor's point of view. Like looking at it like all these years later, I could never have done what F. Murray Abraham has done. I've just watched After the Hunt and I went to see the Springsteen movie last night. And I was like, this is the best Julia Roberts has ever been, including Brockovich. And I was watching Michael Stuhlbarg and I'm like, that is the roles I would get with the body size and the kind of person that I'm, character actor that I am. I could never find the moments that Stuhlbarg finds as a cuckolded husband in that movie. There are such fascinating choices he makes as an actor. And as I'm watching Jeremy Allen White, there is this fearlessness to sit in the silence that he has in the film. I thought it was a damn good movie, by the way, just quick recommendation. It's a commentary on mental health. It's a commentary on Springsteen's depression when he was making Nebraska. And it does not shy away from it. It's really dark, the movie. So to me, I was just fascinated. So when you talk about as a director, watching other director things to do, I see what they're doing as actors. And I have to sit back and go, I could deliver a performance, but it would never be that.
Yep.
And that's okay. Like that's just the way that the thing shook out. But I'm just happy to be able to witness it.
Yeah, I mean that Salieri, and we are going to do Amadeus again.
Yes.
It's literally been sitting on my computer. I'm ready. I have it loaded up, and we've been talking about it probably for 3 years at least of doing it again. And watching, I know we've moved away from one battle after another, but
great film.
F. Murray Abraham's performance and Tom Hulce's performance.
Yes.
Tom Hulce's performance is astounding.
Yeah.
Like and that whole movie. I mean, like, and this is just to bring it back to one battle after another. Sure. Like, this is what we want from films. And I'll tell you something. I went to see it at the Vista Theater at 10:30 a.m. on a Monday. And it was almost full.
Wow. Oh, yeah, those are the things I miss about LA. Listen, I was in LA last night for the movie. I went to have dinner with Shannon, who took me out for my birthday, and we saw the movie. I would never move back, but because it's just not my town anymore. But I do miss things like that, Steve. I do miss sitting with other cinephiles in a theater who are there to honor the movie. and enjoy it as it should be enjoyed. And so it warms my heart to know that the theater was almost full at 10:30 a.m. on a Monday for a film that's been out for over a month.
Yeah.
Almost 6 weeks. So that's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. So I think this is a clear Cine-Files recommendation. If you haven't seen it yet, go see One Battle After Another. If you can see it in 70 millimeter or VistaVision, that's pretty cool. Yeah. But it's really cool to see it any way you can. And thank you to everyone who supports the show on Patreon as well as Apple Podcasts. We couldn't make the Cine-Files without you. And for my partner, John Rocha, I'm Steve Morris, and we'll see you on another Cine-Files short.
Viva la revolution! All right, there's our thoughts on One Battle After Another. Steve, it was an engaging conversation. And I have to tell you, I heard from a number of our Cine-Files fans that this was one of their favorite shorts that we did all of last year. And they asked us they wanted us to go even farther and talk about that film for like another hour because there is so much to discuss in One Battle After Another. And I think in all the hype of Sinners and all the hype of all these other films, it can be easy to just kind of forget how poignant and powerful that film actually is, how much it speaks to our current conditions in a number of countries and in our world, and dismiss it as this kind of juggernaut this Goliath that everyone is going after, when in fact that was pretty much a David movie, and now all of a sudden it's become a Goliath in comparison to the other films. But I think it's an excellent, excellent movie. And it has been nominated for a number of things here, Steve, so we should take a look at these. Academy, it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor for Benicio and Sean Penn, Best Supporting Actor for Tana Taylor, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Casting, Cinematography, Film Editing, Original Score, Production Design, and Best Sound. So where are you at for the Oscars on this movie? Where do you fall on any of these categories if it has a shot to win it?
You know, there's the thing about the great athlete having the great opponent that brings the best out of them. Like, I think this is a year where we have two stellar, iconic, groundbreaking, important, beautifully made films in Sinners and One Battle After Another. Yeah. I think these are two movies that, regardless of what happens at the awards, this will be talked about. That's why I think I push for what you vote for. I can't predict. I have no prediction of what's going to happen. I have no fucking idea. I know that for me personally, Sinners is a more important film for me, like in terms of how it affected me. But One Battle After Another is a great movie. If it wins Best Picture, there's nothing as I look down this list. If Paul Thomas Anderson wins Best Director, would I be unhappy? No. If Leo won Best Actor, my vote's probably Michael B. Jordan, but if Leo won, would I be unhappy? Absolutely not. If either Benicio or Sean Penn win, would I be unhappy? No. Best Adapted Screenplay, I have never read a Thomas Pynchon novels. I've heard they're weird. At some point I had to do it. But my understanding is anyone who could adapt that screenplay is doing a great job. Yeah. Casting, obviously, I think all the actors are great. So yeah, is it beautifully filmed? Yes. Is it incredibly edited? This might be the one that I feel strongest about it winning. Okay. Is the score great? Yes. Is the production design great? Yes. But Frankenstein is off the charts great. I agree. And is the sound great? Yes. So it's like, it could, for me, all of these are, none of these are upsets. None of these are, would I disrespect them winning? Can I predict what's going to happen? No.
There you go. Well, yeah, I think I would have to say, I think it has a good shot at Best Picture. I don't think actor. I would vote for Sean Penn for Best Supporting Actor. That's still my choice. Just like my choice is Amy Madigan from Weapons for Best Supporting Actress. Best Adapted Screenplay. I think it has the shot there. I think it is the best shot to win of all the categories. And I do think Ludwig is going to take the score. So I don't think Johnny Greenwood's score is going to win, but it's a damn good score for sure. All right. Well, that's our last film in our 2026 Best Picture nominee series here that we've done on the Cine-Files. We hope you enjoyed all of the installments that we put out. The previous two have come out, 3 films each. So if you want to listen to them all back to back to back before you join us at 12 p.m. PT on Saturday, March 14th. This is recorded. This is tomorrow, 12 p.m. PT live as we do our second annual Cine-Files Awards show. Steve, anything else you want to say as we wrap up here? This has been a great journey with you, talking about all of these movies and revisiting them for our series.
No, just thank you so much for listening. And if you want to subscribe to the Cine-Files, if you haven't already, you can do it at all of you can do it on all the podcast platforms, including going on YouTube, where we love your comments. Reviews are great. If you want to support the show, as we said, or hear some of these reviews earlier when we come out, because we do that regularly, review movies and TV shows on our Cine-Files shorts, which are accessible through patreon.com/the Cine-Files, as well as Apple Podcasts. And I'm at SR Morris on Twitter. Sean, how about you?
Yeah, at The Rocha Says on all social media. And of course, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/John Rocha Says. Okay, as I just said, we hope you can join us live at 12 p.m. PT on Saturday the 14th as we go through the second annual Cine-Files Award shows. Of course, that will be an episode of the audio podcast as well, so you can be able to listen to it or watch it later on YouTube as well. But from my partner, Steve Morris, I am John Rocha, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of this Best Pictures nominee series, which we'll do next year here on the Cine-Files.